Welcome, everybody. The 2023 NFL Draft is over, which means it's time to look at some NFL Draft grades. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to be taking a look at the NFC East Draft grades. As mentioned, the NFC East is up today in our NFL Draft Grade series here at the Game House. Make sure to check out the other divisions. We'll go through all the draft grades by division for the 2023 NFL Draft. Let's start off with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East. I did not like this draft personally. I think they reached on Mazi Smith, the defensive lineman out of Michigan. Did fit a need to help plug that run on the defensive side of the ball. Tight end Luke Schoonmaker, I thought that was a reach as well. So I kind of think it started off pretty poor. But then they did make some good picks. A couple of the ones I did like. Linebacker DeMarvion Overshawn out of Texas, who's a former safety, pretty athletic guy. I think can play a role for them in the future. Maybe he doesn't start right away, but at least special teams maybe right now, and moves into more of a bigger role down the line. And then we won't be going over every single pick through here. Eric Scott surprised me; just kind of came out of nowhere. But I really like the Deuce Vaughn pick. His dad works for the Cowboys. We had that heartwarming video that came out when they drafted him. Smaller guy, but electric with the ball in his hands. Very, very quick. And I think he produced some big plays. They needed some running back depth behind Tony Pollard, and they got it with Deuce Vaughn late in the draft. We'll see if he makes the roster, see if he has an impact. But he was really, really good on tape at Kansas State. Gave the draft a C- overall. Look, I like a couple other players, DeMarvion Overshawn, Deuce Vaughn. But there were some question marks. Mazi Smith, was that too early? Could they have traded down? Luke Schoonmaker, there's better tight ends available. And Eric Scott, that one was kind of just out of nowhere, really. So the Cowboys get a C- in here. Doesn't mean it was not going to be a successful team next year. They needed someone to help with the defensive line. They got Mazi Smith. They needed a new tight end after Dalton Schultz left. They got Luke Schoonmaker. So that really helps out. I guess, you get two positions of need at the very least. I just had players who were higher on my big board at those positions, at those spots where the Cowboys were picking. Moving on, we have the New York Giants. Their draft picks started off with Deonte Banks, the corner out of Maryland. Very athletic player, rose up draft boards during this process pretty well. And then there's that video going out about the Giants draft room about how they wanted John Michael Schmitz and Jalen Hyatt. They ended up getting both. John Michael Schmitz was one of the best interior linemen in the class. Really like that pick for them. And I'm not a huge Jalen Hyatt guy. I think he provides speed. I'm not sure what more he's going to provide for an NFL team, but they took him a little bit later than most people thought he would go, so I kind of am okay with that pick as well. He'll stretch the field. They do have a bunch of speedsters already, Wan'Dale Robinson as well. Maybe would have liked to see them get a bigger receiver too, but Hyatt has that speed. They can stretch the field and open things up for the other guys. Eric Gray at running back. Very good running. I think a very good running back prospect out of Oklahoma who can do a little bit of everything for him. Behind Saquon Barkley, maybe a larger role down the line. They have those contract issues with Saquon Barkley. We'll see how they handle that for the long term. But if not, you at least took someone who can fill in if Saquon is hurt, which has been a problem in the past. So for me, B for the Giants. I think they did a really good job of getting good players early with Deonte Banks and John Michael Schmitz. Jalen Hyatt, again, don't love the player, but I do think that he can, at the spot they got him at, he can provide more value than where he was selected at. And then Eric Gray as well. The guys in the later rounds don't really have too much faith in them, but at the end of the day, this is more about the top couple rounds of the draft rather than the back end. It's at fourth round and on, you're kind of looking for flyers and guys who can actually maybe contribute on special teams and maybe develop into something more when that's just not too much of a guarantee. Next team up, the Philadelphia Eagles, one of my favorite drafts in this draft class. Howie Roseman did really, really well to get draft picks to use and used them very well. So we're going to start it off with Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman out of Georgia. Yes, there was the character concerns. There was the speeding incident. But he was a good football player, and if you can look past that or have a culture that can help him adjust to the NFL lifestyle, I think that's really going to work out for him. Especially on that defensive line with so many key players. And then they go get his teammate Nolan Smith because Philadelphia just loves the Georgia players. So Nolan Smith was a very athletic edge rusher, a little undersized, but he's good against the run. So I think he's going to fit that mentality of playing hard on the defensive line and being able to rotate those guys in and out. I think that really fits well. You go Tyler Steen next, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Former defensive lineman and then moves to offensive tackle. So look at this, Howie Roseman taking more defensive linemen there basically. But I think he might move into guard too, but it's nice to have a guy who might be able to do both out of Alabama there. Sidney Brown, the safety out of Illinois. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson ends up walking. Terrell Edmonds comes in, and that's fine, but you get some more depth for the safety spot. Sidney Brown, a lot of people liked him going a little bit higher than he actually did. And then Keely Ringo, I love this pick. There's questions about whether maybe he should be a safety or a corner, but he's very athletic. He's a bigger corner. He ran track. The tight hips might cost him a little bit, but I think he can be a successful corner with some work here. Tanner McKee, the quarterback, not a huge fan of him either, but when they got him was fine. And then Moro Ojomo, the defensive lineman out of Texas. Some people had him going a lot earlier than I did. I think they got him at a pretty good range, but I think he can just add to that defensive line rotation if he makes the team. So A-plus draft for them. They add on to a good Super Bowl year, a Super Bowl appearance year last year, and they get an A-plus draft to add with it. The Washington Commanders are the last team up in the NFC East. Let's start it off with Emmanuel Forbes, the corner out of Mississippi State. Again, a lot of people were higher on him than I was. He's kind of a statistical outlier when you look at the measurements, at least. He's a very slight player, and I just don't know if he's going to hold up. He's got great ball skills. I think they could have drafted him a little bit later. The rumors that day of the draft were that maybe they couldn't, but I'm not sure how he can hold up in the NFL. It's one of those guys, 167 pounds. It's just very, very tough to see how that ends up long term. But the ball skills are there. The athleticism is there. Let's just see if he can add that weight to his body. Jartavius Martin, the safety out of Illinois. Pretty big safety. I think he can cover too, but also hits pretty well. I like that pick for Washington. Ricky Stromberg, the interior offensive lineman from Arkansas. I like him. I liked him more than I thought the NFL liked him, but they picked him a decent amount early, so we'll see if he gets into the starting lineup pretty early. Braden Daniels, the interior offensive lineman out of Utah, also like him. KJ Henry will be solid. Running back Chris Rodriguez, the running back out of Kentucky, very good power running back. Might remind some people of Benny Snell a couple years ago out of Kentucky. They kind of are the same mold. And then Andre Jones, the linebacker there. I'm going to give this one a C+. The Emmanuel Forbes pick kind of weighs it down a little bit. Jartavius Martin was a solid pick, but then Ricky Stromberg maybe reached on a little bit. I do love him. It seemed like everyone else did not like him as much as the Commanders did. Hopefully he pans out there. And I also liked Braden Daniels' pick as well. So C+, I mean, if they took someone else besides Forbes, maybe another corner that was on the board like Deontay Banks that I was a little bit higher on, this grade goes up a little bit. Doesn't mean they're going to be a bad team. Doesn't mean anything like that. But just a lot of guys who I think have to prove something in their first year with the Commanders. So that is my grades for the NFC East. Make sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. We're going to be back with more of those divisional draft grade videos in the next couple weeks here. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.